Okay, Mark meets Mick Mahoney, the Executive Creative Director at Havas Worldwide in London. Hi Mick.
Hi mate.
Can you give us a very quick summary of your career to date?
22 years I think. Started off at a little place called Still Price called Twyford de Souza. Thought that was fantastic and exciting, little creative boutique agency. It then got bought by Lintas, and within about 6 months the agency had big grey carpet tiles everywhere and lots of big account people telling everyone what to do, so I left because that wasn't what I signed up for.
So you started as well. What was your first job title?
I was a copywriter.
Okay.
Started off as a copywriter.
Junior copywriter.
Junior copywriter, yeah. After I went to Watford, did the Watford course, got a job as a junior copywriter.
Who was your course tutor at Watford?
It was a lady called Maureen Purbrook. So I'm pre-Tony Culling, I think. There can't be many of us left in the business.
Pre-Tony?
Pre-Tony Culling. I think that probably dates me. And then I got an offer to go out to the agency in Paris. So I thought, why not? I was 24, I thought it would be a good fun thing to do. So I moved out to Paris for a few months and really enjoyed myself out there. Loved the creative director. He was this really incredibly passionate French man from Marseille, you know, and always talked about being able to smell the creativity, and I thought this was just such a laugh. So
did you speak French?
No, not a word. But I stayed for 2 years. I meant to stay for a couple of months, stayed for 2 years, loved it. And only really came back because you reach that point where, you know, you either stay there forever or you kind of come home. So I came home. And then I met up with my partner, my long-term partner, Andy Amadeo, then. And we freelanced a little bit until we got a job. Our first job was at D&B&B, which doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. Again, you know, we had a great time. Our big break came at D&B&B when we did a TV campaign for Littlewoods Pools, and it was shot by Chris Palmer. It was one of the first, I think it was probably the first year or so that Chris was directing, and that did really well for us. It got us a lot of attention, you know, a really nice ad from, you know, not a great agency, and it all kind of kicked off from there really. We got offered a job at Simons Palmer, went to Simons Palmer, did some Nike, you know, won a pencil, won a gold at Cannes, and again it just went off from there. Went headhunting to Lowe's, which was a wonderful place at the time. It was kind of like mid through to late 90s. We stayed there for about 4 or 5 years. We got to work on Stella, on the Grand Prix for Stella at Lowe's, and then too soon got offered our first ECD's job. I think I was like 32 or something, and he was 29 or something stupid. You know, we should never have done it, but we did it. We went to College Dickinson Piers, and in hindsight's a great thing, but in hindsight we probably shouldn't have gone. You know, we should have done a few more years of just getting the work under our belt. And when we got there, we realised why it wasn't a great agency anymore. You know, we had that naive belief that if you just did great work, they could only buy great work and run great work. You know, and that's when we realised it was a bit more complicated than that. But we did Agent Voctor film with Kylie Minogue while we were at CDP.
That was really difficult.
That was a tough day.
Yeah.
My wife actually said that morning, "So what are you doing today?" I said, "I'm shooting Kylie Minogue in her drawers on a bucking Bronco." And she said, "I'm coming and I'm bringing the children." Yeah, so that was a good day. And then we did sort of the Hamlet work, and all that did really well for us. The Hamlet staff won a gold at Cannes, and the Agent Voctor work, you know, just went berserk. It was one of the sort of the early virals, I suppose, you know, and I mean, I had builders in my house at the time, and when one of them found out, I think from my wife, that I'd done it, they actually queued up to shake my hand and say thank you, which is about the best response I've ever had to that in my life. So from there, after that, we went to a little place called Musto's. And these were all guys that had previously been at Lowe's, set up their own place. And we went there as partners and had a little stake in the business. And that was just such a learning experience, you know.
Not only as a creative, but as a partner of the business as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was about, you know, it probably was about how to manage yourself, manage the business, manage people, you know, because even at Collex, you know, I think we were so naive to it all still. I don't really think at Collex we ever managed anybody. We just, you know, slashed and burned ready to get the work out. And it was at Musto's where I think, you know, we actually had to stop to think about it all. And I think that's probably the hardest period of our careers. And we got some really nice work out. I'm really interested in photography, and during that period, also studied at St Martin's, did some photography. You know, and I had the opportunity to shoot some of our own work, which was really nice. And Andy's always been interested in directing, and has directed a few spots. And you know, so we actually got to broaden out a little bit what we did. Yeah, and we learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes.
After Musto's?
After Musto's, Andy and I decided to call it a day because he was progressively more interested in making work, and I was progressively more, you know, interested, fascinated by, you know, how to get great work from other people, you know, how to develop good work. And I've always really enjoyed working with teams. That's the bit I love. You know, I really enjoy it. So I left Musto's and went to BBH on my own as a creative director. And quite literally, I think I've been about 3 weeks. And Ben Fennell, chief exec, called me up and said, "Oh, Mick, we'd like you to do a Vodafone pitch." And I'm thinking, Christ almighty, you know, I don't even know what a coffee machine is. You know, and I've got to run I think it was like the biggest pitch in London that year or something, but you know, one of the biggest. It was a big, big pitch. And I thought it's one of those things, if I don't win it, there's no point unpacking my boxes. Do you know what I mean? I might as well just leave them packed because I'm going to be out the door quite soon. So that was an experience. And we won that, fortunately. And so it kind of set the tone really for the rest of the time I was at BBH. You know, I loved it. I think that's probably the happiest I've ever been in an agency. At BBH. It's, you know, it's got a reputation from the outside of being kind of hard and cold, and I think people call it the Death Star, but it's not like that at all from the inside. It's literally the most kind of supportive environment you'd ever work in, you know, with the nicest bunch of people.
And you joined Euros, which is now Havas.
Exactly, yeah. So after about 3.5 or so years at BBH, again, you know, these things kind of gain a bit of momentum. I work on Vodafone. The first couple of years we got some lovely work out, you know, and again, I think Time Theft got a couple of pencils, I think, from memory. And I also ran Johnny Walker, did the Man Walk Around the World as creative director, you know, which was a gold at Cannes and the One Show Grand Prix and that kind of stuff. So it kind of, it's great because BBH as creative director is quite a sort of shop window. And at that time, a number of agencies that approached me about ECD. And I thought, well, you know, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So after talking to a bunch of different places, I decided to come here because of Russ, in truth. You know, the management structure here was so simple. You know, it's not complicated, there's not a big board. You know, the network is, you know, positive network. It's not one of those really intrusive ones that dictates, you know, what pictures you've got to have up in the loos and that kind of thing. You know, it gives you the freedom to kind of hang yourself, you know, which is all you can ask for really with the network.
And you get to work with Jerry.
Yeah, I mean,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I don't work a great deal with Jerry, I'll be honest, because obviously my role is running the creative department, and you know, it's pretty full on. I'm running the agency with, you know, with Russ. Jerry's obviously not involved in the day-to-day, affairs of the creative department. But it was to come here and team up with us. We got on from day one, and it's been great. 3 years. We get on better than we ever had done. And I think we're doing better than we've ever done. In fact, this year is it's the most creatively rewarded year for this agency since it was founded, which is, I don't know, over 20 years. So it's a pretty good year for us.
Which is why you've just appeared in the as number 11th spot in the top 20 creative directors.
Yeah, it's a good job they didn't do top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been Mick who?
The real downside.
I think that was the only one they did do top 20. Every other category was top 10.
Thank Christ for that. I wouldn't have been in it otherwise. And then there'd be someone else sitting in my seat.
Maybe.
So I mean, they've just kept me in a job.
What's your favourite ad campaign of all time?
Gosh, of all time. Wow.
Is there one that still stands out that really kind of...
I think what we do by its nature is transient, and I think I do fall in love with different things at different times. Probably, I think I'd find it impossible to say one thing. But yeah, I think I'd find it impossible to say one thing,
What were your interests outside of work?
Interests outside of work all revolve pretty much. I've got to say family first, of course.
Of course.
Because it is. But my real interest, my real passion in life is horse racing and horses. I love national hunt racing, which is racing but over jumps, as opposed to flat. I think flat's a bit boring, to be honest. But it is actually a difference between like rugby and football. They're two different worlds. People think they're one and the same thing. They're so not. National hunt racing is autumn and winter and spring, and flat is the rest of the year. And it's a very British and Irish sport. Almost it hardly exists outside of Britain and Ireland.
Do you own horses? Have you ever owned horses?
I have owned a share in a racehorse with Nick Musto, actually at Musto's. He's got several horses.
What was the horse called?
It's called Supreme Catch.
And did it do any good?
It was a really good horse, actually, yeah. My wife did a nut when she found out I bought it.
Yeah, of course.
She probably did. But I kept saying to her, don't worry, it will come good, it will come good.
Did you have kids at the time?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Fine, so the kids were probably like, yes, this is great.
No.
No?
Not really, no. But actually the horse did really well one particular season. And there was one particular race, and I'll never forget it. I was with Nick, and it was at Ascot, and it was in a 2.5 mile chase at Ascot, and it came literally from last to first and beat the Queen's horse Rafiki at the time, literally by a nose on the line. It's incredible.
Amazing.
And it did so well that season that it actually won enough money that we had money back after the training fees, after the vet fees, after everything.
For just that year or the entire time?
No.
Just that year?
Just that year.
Right.
We had it for 5 years. It was the only time it returned a profit.
Okay.
But you don't ever get a share in a racehorse expecting to make any money from it. It's just a pleasure. And I ride as well. I ride every weekend, and so does my wife. And, my daughter did, but I think she got bored with it.
Where do you live? Do you live in the outskirts then?
Yeah, I live literally next to Richmond Park.
Okay.
Yeah, right by the gates into the park. It's a lovely place to live.
If you could work for any agency in the world right now, who would you say is doing the best stuff and you'd love to work with?
BBH. BBH is the best agency in the world. Certainly the best agency, it's tough to be the best agency in the world probably, but they're the best agency in this country, and I think their effect is felt everywhere.
Still, even now,
I think so. You've only got to look at the quality, the consistent quality, but also the strength and depth. Not only of the people that work there, but also of the amount of work that comes out. I think, most agencies would want to be able to emulate that kind of success. Also to be able to attract that level of talent. Obviously, there's a load of other interesting agencies. Wyden's are always interesting. 72 and Sunny, are always interesting. Joker 5, although sort of by their own standards, I think we've been quite quiet this year for Dragonfly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably about.
Who inspires you creatively?
Who inspires me creatively? You know, actually, not people in advertising. I love photography, fashion photography, film. You know, I don't watch TV as such. If I've ever got a chance, I always watch a film. You know, there's generally a film on my house at any given day.
Or a documentary. I can imagine you to be a documentary.
Yeah, I like documentaries as well. I love film. I just love that world that films create. That you know you get sort of sucked into, you get pulled into. You know, and you're kind of a great film. You're there, you know, involved in it.
So do you have an interest or a passion to move out of advertising and direct film?
Yeah, there was always that kind of period. Actually, kind of just before BBH and you know, at the time I was there, I did actually talk to a few people about possibly directing because you know I get really involved in all productions. I love, you know,
really hands-on.
If you look at what I've done, you know, I'm probably better known for film stuff than known for anything else. And you know, it's lovely to be on the Cannes Film Jury. You know, I'm doing BTA and film for D&AD next year as well. And I think I'm sort of pigeonholed now in that sort of thing. But yeah, I get really involved in the production, and I love the production of what we do. You know, all the way through the whole production, I'm fascinated by it. But I just think the thing that stopped me going on directing is you know, it's a big surprise to me, to be honest, that one career's worked out. You know, let alone go do another and hope that will too.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of creative directors that think they can direct. You know, and half of them can't really, and I don't want to be in that half. So,
yeah.
You know, and the trouble is, a lot the really good directors, the really good ones, the ones that you know that I've been lucky enough to work with and would admire. You know, unless you're one of them, you're not really earning a good living either. You know, it's a tough world. A lot of respect for those guys.
Is there a brand that stands out in your career has been kind of the most fun to work on so far?
Different ones at different times, I think. The ones that let you get the best work out are the most fun.
Okay.
You know, they're the ones that get you most excited, and you also kind of feel most valued. You know, by those brands and those clients. You know, when they're really trusting you to deliver something exciting. Yeah, at various points in my career, it's been Stella, for example, or you know, Agent Provocateur, or Johnny Walker. Yeah, they took such a risk on that film. You know, they really did. You know, I couldn't even tell them what it was going to look like. You know, I just said, I think it's going to be really good. And if it's not, we can't cut away out of trouble. So, you know, things like that, where clients give you the space and the belief, whatever brand that is. What
advice would you give to young creatives who are looking to get into the industry today? Because obviously there are people like you that they read about and they see campaigns directed from, and I guess on a kind of typical day they wouldn't get to meet people like you. So what advice would you give them to try and stand out, be remembered, get in front of the right people?
Work hard on everybody else. That's the best advice I could give anybody. You know, work harder than everybody else.
What does that mean? Does that mean longer hours? Does that mean cleverer? Does that mean what does that mean?
It means putting more hours, care more, have it matter to you more, try harder, do more work, see more people. Just be utterly restless, you know, until you find yourself getting it in, and then keep going. Because you know the business is full of smart people. There's no doubt about that. But smart people with the right aptitude to work, the right attitude, you know, they're the ones that are going to rise up. I mean, you know, it's no secret. I look at my department and see the people that do the best work. I'll be honest, they work the hardest. You know, they're the nicest, the smartest, but they work the hardest. And you know, you'll get lucky that way. Also, you know, it's one of those industries where if you can't take a knock, you know, you may want to go to something else, because you know, when you're starting out, for the first few years, you're just getting knocked back the whole time, you know, and don't take it personally. You know, one of the things you sometimes get is from very young teams, particularly. It's one of the reasons why I don't really see that many young teams. I always make sure the creative directors see them. Of course, we'll support them, and you know, we actually do a program for placements and stuff. And I'm really keen that we have youngsters getting into the business. But you know, occasionally you get kids that haven't learned that it's not personal. I'm not trying to show that I'm cleverer than they are, because chances are I'm not. But take the criticism well. You know, take it, write it down, think about it. If at a later stage you disagree with it, fine. You know, who knows, you might be right. But at least listen. Don't argue back. Don't say, well, actually, you're wrong and it's this. You know, again, you might be right, but you know, you won't get a second interview. So.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. There are a lot of junior creatives who are fairly disillusioned about how easy or how difficult it is to get into the industry, and once they're in the industry, how to then make the most of it. Yeah. And also, I guess creative is subjective, and I think what a lot of juniors find very confusing is what one creative director says is good, another creative director says is shit, and they don't know kind of who to go with. So what advice would you give to people? Is it believe in what you think is a good idea?
You have to have an inner belief in what you're doing. You know, you've got no choice but to do that. But the way I've always approached it is, if the people that I respect, if the people whose work I think is good, think that I've done something that is good, that matters to me more. You know, if people think that what we've done isn't that great, and I'm not that big a fan of their work either, you know, it's water off a duck's back. So I think what you need to do probably when you start out is isolate the people in the agencies that are doing the kind of work that you yourself wish that you'd done, and then go see them and use their judgment as a yardstick, you know, until your judgment is better. Because you're right, you know, you will see all sorts of people in this business and all sorts of people who, you know, I noticed you talk about that lists and campaign today, and I noticed top 10 press ads of the year was, one of the ads was something I did a private viewing campaign about earlier on in the year, and so I didn't like it, I think it's very good.
And it made the top 10 of the year.
Exactly,
yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Have you ever had the threat of redundancy so far?
Constantly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought that, you know, I always think...
So you never feel too comfortable? You never really think your feet are well and truly under the...
Never. No, never. I think it's... I've always thought it was an apparent threat, always.
Do you think that's a healthy way to continue a career? Because I don't think there are many other...
It's a healthy way to continue a career because it keeps you on your toes, but it's not a healthy way to live your life. Constantly thinking that, you know, you're the next one out.
Yeah.
You know, but that kind of hunger stops you ever getting complacent. You know.
Because there are a lot of creatives that unfortunately are experiencing being made redundant more frequently, I guess, than used to happen, and a lot of them do lose faith and do lose passion and love for the industry. So what you'd say is just keep going.
Yeah.
One door closes, another opens.
If you have the heart for it, keep going. You know, if you're young enough and you're not really that sure, then, you know, maybe it's an opportunity to think about what else you do. You know, because as a young creative person, there's no shortage of opportunities in London. You know, you don't have to, you know, take it into, you know, writing ads. But, you know, if you are heart set on a career in the business and you do get knockbacks, it happens. Like I said, you've got to be prepared to take the knocks. It's really tough, but you know, you work hard and talent will always out. Always.
Let's move on to a quick fire round. Can line or D&AD pencil?
Pass.
Olympic gold medal or an Oscar?
Oscar.
The brightest person you've worked with?
Andrew Levy.
The most creative person you've worked with?
Nick Gill.
The best looking person you've worked with?
I've got to say last incident, it's not true.
But it might make you
But
feel
if
good.
I don't say it, then there'll be hell to pay. So.
Creatives or suits?
Creatives.
Money or happiness?
Both would be good.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Degree or no degree?
I mean, personally, no degree.
Art directors or copywriters?
Copyright every time.
Retained work or pitch work?
Retained.
Web or mobile?
Mobile.
Independent agencies or networked agencies?
How can I answer that?
Outsourced production or on-site production?
Depends on the job.
Don Draper or Roger Sterling?
I've never seen that programme.
Oh my god.
Ever. I've never seen it. I don't watch TV shows.
Fine, okay, you've massively disappointed me. And lastly, twist or stick?
I have to see.
Thank you very much.